Critter Mike is live. I'll leave it up. I want to see if Carl's going to holler at me. What do you know, Carl? I'll do it then. Okay, so Carl's not going to crow yet.
That didn't sound like Carl in the background.
Nope, that was Mama. That was Mama in the other room. Sorry, Mom. I was hollering at Carl. One of these, I mean, you know, the days are going to get longer and longer and longer, and he'll start crowing. He'll start crowing on these hour shows when I'm a little early. Mm-hmm. So, hey, I got to give a shout out to Vince out there at Bundy Ranch. I'm not doing phones tonight, Vince. Sorry, brother, but you know, maybe if you're still out there tomorrow, we'll do something on the after the last cup or something. But tonight's just the hour show, and you know, Lance runs his mouth for about the half of it. So I mean, you know. But anyway, it's good on you, dude. You're out there pimping the network and doing right by UCY.TV. And that's exactly what you folks are listening to, UCY.TV. This is Boiler Room Radio, and we will be together for the next hour. My name is Jim Funke, and that guy over there giggling in his mic is Lance Musser. And we're going to dive right in because we've got we're going to talk about the whole Bundy thing, but it's going to be toward the end of the program, and we got a couple other things to touch on before then. So let's dive right into Smoke'em's Market Minute and let us know what's happening on the debacle that known as Wall Street.
I am actually coming to you live from the ocean front. I'm about 50 yards from the ocean. If I had a critter cam or a critter mic here, you could hear the waves crashing in the background because that's how close they are. So yeah, we're staying
sitting
over
out
here.
on the deck.
No, I'm sitting inside right now because there's too many hoodlums. Outside making a bunch of noise. I mean, everybody's having fun. And I say hoodlums, just teenagers and stuff like that.
Splashing in the pool.
No pool. I mean, it's the boardwalk is 5 feet from the door here.
Uh-oh. Your Wi-Fi's failing.
They're pretty close. So
your Wi-Fi's failing you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. It was just breaking up a little bit there.
And it is going to. I was wondering, because I am in the hotel about the Skype. So if it cuts out too bad, just overtalk me and I'll be quiet.
Right on. So jump right in, man. You got a couple stories for tonight, or I mean,
absolutely.
When I checked about 1:30, it was still on the down. Like Dow was down almost 100, and Nasdaq was off 50. Blah 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 blah.
It's just above 16,000 right now, which means that it has dropped, 460 points in the last couple weeks. But I think, just like Manarino said, that this probably isn't the one next week to continue the illusion that everything's fine, that we'll see a rally in the market better than it was a couple weeks ago and gain back everything that they've lost over the last couple weeks. So I don't think that this is the real one. I'm kind of siding with Manarino on that one.
Yeah. And he had a pretty good video today. I mean, I kind of gave it a listen out of the side of my ear, but it was pretty good. The hyper report was very good this morning. So we'll jump into those as soon as you're done with your stories.
Yeah. One of them is, you've heard of this heartbleed bug?
Yeah. Yeah. This has supposedly been out there for a couple of years now, and the NSA knew all about it, but never said shit.
Well, and that's just the thing, because
so we've all been subjected to this worm, and our data is compromised. On with the rest of the story, I guess, right? Because I guarantee you that this is some kind of CIA workup.
Well, and heartbleed, they're saying it appears to be one of the biggest flaws in internet history, affecting the basic security as many as 2/3 of the world's websites. So what have they been telling everybody to do every single day for the last week that they found out about this thing?
Update your operating systems, people. We got a patch.
They've been telling people to change their passwords on every single site.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're putting this out there. change your password, change your password. I've seen Facebook posts of it, memes of it. You know, I've seen people forwarding, copying posts and redoing them. Now think about that.
F that.
Think about that.
F that.
If there really was this, vulnerability, do you not think that the NSA now just got every single one of your new passwords?
Right.
Come on.
Because they
really?
didn't patch nothing.
Exactly. So yeah. And so they've known about it for the last couple years. And now that they found out about it 5 days after they found out about it, it's perfectly fine. And they recommend everybody change their passwords. Man, there's something fishy as hell about that.
Yeah.
And I'm not changing password one. If I get hacked, I mean, then I get hacked, but,
definitely doesn't pass the smell test.
It doesn't. So be careful. I think that one's
call.
another story that we'll see more on later on the alternative stuff. 5 things to ponder about, is this the correction? If you remember, people were crying, the sky is falling, the sky is falling from, I'd say 05. The real talk started about the crash that actually happened in 08. So you had the pundits for 3 years crying wolf. So that's 3, some of these things to consider now are, we've been talking about it heavy for a year, and so has everybody else. So could it go on for another 2 years? We've been hearing people say that. So that would be the same 3 years. 5 reasons why the sell-off spells caution, because the biggest downward driver today is formerly a high-flying biotech sector. And all those are down. Tesla, Netflix, big sell-offs. Not every sell-off from 29 to 08, there have been actually 27 corrections since World War II for U.S. stocks in which the market sold off between 10 and 20%, which is what we've been talking about, 20% correction. There have only been 11 instances where the stock has dropped by more than 35%. And that's almost a 3-to-1 probability that this doesn't snowball into a catastrophe. That is somebody's.
I always love that word.
Yeah. They use it a lot now too.
Yes, they do. Because that's what's coming. A huge one.
Carl Icahn, Icahn. The guy was on CN.
Carl, that's my rooster's name.
Carl, hey, then he's got to be credible. But he was on CNBC, and he's the chairman of this Icahn Enterprises, Icahn Enterprises, some financial guy. And this wasn't too long ago. It was last week, I believe. And he said, I'm not even talking something somewhat against myself, but we have a lot of hedges going on. As I told you, shorts. Manarino talks about the shorts.
Yep.
I do believe that this market, everybody loves this market. You go talk to your barbershop and everybody's buying this, buying that, talking about it, but that's the time to be cautious. But that's not the only reason to be cautious. I think that a lot of the earnings are sort of artificial because, the Fed did a great job in saving this country. But right now, staving off the death is what he should have said. But right now with these low interest rates, it's easy to make earnings. And I don't think that can continue forever. I've said before and continue to say it. I think that there will be a major correction, but I don't know when. It could be 3 years. It could be 3 days. So, there were people.
Thanks, Mr. Vague.
Look how far they staved it off last time, and look how hard everybody's been talking about it for the next year.
They haven't staved it off. I mean, come on. They've been manipulating everything. That's not staving shit off. They've been printing money.
Well, let me define.
They've been devaluing our freaking country. They've been stealing all of our. Okay, go ahead.
Staving it off to the point where even the mainstream media or the sheeple, if you will, are talking about it. That's when we really know that it's happened. And it hadn't happened yet because if it doesn't happen on mainstream media.
And Monday Night Football is getting ready to come back, so don't worry about it.
So that's my stories. I mean, it was just, some of these people were conflicting. Some of them are saying that, it could go on for a couple of years. Some of them are saying it's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, you can't pin nothing on these freaks.
Yeah,
I'm watching the gold, the whole 3-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio or whatever, the BDI, the Baltic Dry Index has been tanking like 12 days in a row. It's finished off. Come on, people. I mean, it's getting ready to collapse. They can't keep this up. They can't.
Yeah. And they have to have a distraction to, fray the blame from them. EMP would really do it.
Oh, Bundy Ranch, man. We're going to blame this rancher out here for watering his cattle on open ground. That's what we're going to do.
There's just so much that's about this. I think it's a head count, a fault,
This is the only reason anybody's talking about all this is because the plane took a nosedive, right? I mean, the plane's sunk. That story sunk. No pun. But anyway, that nobody's paying attention to it anymore because every goddamn story that comes out about it's unbelievable. They're like, whatever. We got pings like 3 days after the batteries died. We got pings. Oh, those pings are something else. Okay. So what else did you find on the bottom of the ocean that's pinging?
Exactly.
Yeah. You just kind of walked away from that story, right? Okay. So anyway, keep going. Sorry.
No, that's it. I mean, you could be correct on the Bundy story. I think this is, a Waco Ruby Ridge in the making.
Well, Jules agrees. Well, she's kind of throw this out there too, and I agree with her on this part. She agrees with me that it's a distraction, and I agree with her that what they're doing is they're trying to get a head count of all the jackasses that are willing to drive across the country with a firearm.
Yep. I've said the same thing. So from day one, I've said, they're trying to get a mass, and these people are feeding into it really well.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
From what I see. Yeah. But you know what's interesting? Last night after listening and reading
Pete
about
Santilli.
Exactly. Well, I was checking up on it last night too. And I went to NBCnews.com, ABCnews.com, CBS.com, Fox.com, my local station.
Jesus, AOL. Did you wash your ears out after you got done?
No, AOL.com. And I didn't read anything. There was not one mention on it. I had to put it in the search bar and type Bundy, and then hit enter. And then the story would be directed to it. But I'm telling you, last night, there was not one major website that you could go to, news website.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about your
that
news feeds.
Story was visible.
Right. Yeah, it's not anywhere on the news feeds.
Anywhere.
Yahoo doesn't carry it. Google doesn't carry it. It's way down at the bottom of Google.
Anywhere. Yeah. That pissed me off so bad when I saw that. I was just like, oh, God.
It is a serious situation, and I feel for those people out there. I mean, if it was my family, I'd probably be in a whole different ball of wax right now. But, there's just something hinky. There's something. I'm not talking about the Bundys. The Bundys aren't. There's something hinky about all of a sudden, out of nowhere, because they've been fighting this battle out for 20 years, man. This ain't no new story. Mm-hmm. This cat's been fighting this for 20 years. But all of a sudden, they're going to show up outside of his house with APCs and big ass trucks and a bunch of armed assholes from what? Some's hinky.
I don't know that they'll be back in force because they've already accomplished their mission, which was a gathering of an opposition.
They went in there and tore out a bunch of water. A bunch of wells and stuff that they had.
Killed a bunch of cattle in the process.
Yeah. Well, they were chasing them down. Yeah.
Yeah, with helicopters.
They didn't truck them out or nothing. They said when they looked inside the back of the truck,
right,
there was nothing in there but a bunch of pipes and stuff where they tore out a bunch of cisterns that they've had on the property for hundreds and hundreds of years. And the guy that, one of the family members said the reason that they did that was because those cisterns gave them grandfather rights to that property because their family put them in back in the 1800s, and they've expanded on them and moved them around and put new pipes in and blah, blah, blah. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Just another way to shovel some more poo over the whole situation.
I mean, it's definitely a good distraction from the financial woes.
Look, it distracted us right off of the Smoke'em's Market Minute.
Nobody's correct. Nobody's talking about the plane. Nobody's talking about Ukraine. Well, I mean, I take that back. Nobody any
Except us.
alternative stuff, because if you're outside, I mean, I was talking to other people, and I bet 70% of the population don't even know about this.
Right.
I mean, if they're not trying to inform themselves of real news, they're not going to hear about this.
Yeah, your Wi-Fi is choking. You might want to drop a couple of pages or something. If you got a couple pages open or something, give yourself some resources back, maybe. I don't know. It might be just your signal, but we're going to go ahead and jump into Scott's 2 minutes and 24 seconds and then jump over to, yeah, you sound better now. And we'll see what Greg's got to say. I think his video is not very long today. Yeah, it's only 5 minutes. So we'll go ahead and play both of these and do your thing, folks. If you got to go pee-pee or whatever, turn up the stereo real loud and listen up. Your Wi-Fi is choking. Whoopsie. Your Wi-Fi was choking. I told you it was. Let me try that again. Let me go over here and turn the room off, or at least hit pause up here on the player. Go back over to YouTube. Go back down here and click on this thing again.
Hello, this is Scott and this is a Hype Report. Today's report is sponsored by the free book Ramblings of a Madman. Here are the quotes for various items. First, access denied. U.S. spy bosses have denied a request from Chancellor Angela Merkel to look at her secret NSA file. Well, Angela, now you know what it means to be an American. Of course, this type of slap in the face will help further strengthen ties between Germany and Russia. Next, gas prices. According to Rick Rule, despite rapidly increasing U.S. and Canadian oil output, the oil price is stubbornly high because of the decline in the output of various large oil-producing nations like Mexico, Venezuela, Indonesia, and Ecuador. Next, taxpayer data at risk. According to a report by the GAO, the IRS computing systems are vulnerable to unauthorized access, alteration, and disclosure. The IRS may have the same level of pathetic computer security safeguards as the Obama-Rec website after they fixed it. Of course, Obama is trying to reduce his neglect of job responsibility by calling for wage transparency. Next, fail to disclose. After a request, the IRS sent tax documents on a targeted conservative group to the staff of Democratic Representative Cummings, who is vehemently trying to sweep the IRS scandal under the rug. Cummings tried to disclose and denied the request, however, public records clearly record otherwise. Next, Sick Magnet. A new study on the demographics of Obama-Rec enrollees has been released, and the results are what any rational person thought it would be. It is no surprise to learn that the very ill rushed to get coverage once the guaranteed issue went into effect. Since Obama-Rec pools are dominated by the old and sick, next year's premiums will be far higher to cover this year's expensive treatments. So, good riddance as Sebelius resigns. However, her replacement will likely be far worse than her. Next, ATF orders. The ATF is planning to take possession of a 160-pound shipment of plastic explosives and blasting wire, not by enforcement seizure, but by a purchase order. So, will we see ATF officials all gussied up in suicide vests soon? Next, Senate vote. Senator Mikulski, who voted for the UN to destroy the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, is upset that a Senate vote failed to allow women to earn the same pay as men for the same work. Needless to say, she won't call out her sugar daddy Obama, whose staff has a huge pay disparity between men and women. Finally, please prepare now for the escalating economic and social unrest. Good day.
Just real quick about the whole ATF thing. Now, full disclosure, I don't know what kind of plastic explosives that they ordered, but 160 pounds is a lot. You can take down, and Lance can verify this because he's probably seen it happen in the military, you can take it down a house, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, blah, 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 with about a pound of C4. Mm-hmm. That's all it takes. About a pound.
The size of a brick, a little bit smaller.
Yep. You can drop it right inside its own basement, just like they do the professional buildings. That's C4. Now, I don't know what kind of composite they're getting, but why does the ATF need 160 pounds of plastic explosives? It can't be for training purposes.
Well, it could be. I mean, training purposes of busting down doors with C4.
That's kind of scary, Lance. Thanks for throwing that in there.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the old adage, if you don't plan on using it, why get it?
Right.
It's like having a gun. If you pull out a gun, you better be planning on using it.
Right. Okay. Moving on. Let's listen to Mr. Gregory Manarino.
All right.
He's going to ask how y'all are. So
big news for allergy sufferers.
There's some big news for allergy sufferers. If anybody's watching YouTube and gives a shit.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Greg Manarino.
Hi, Greg.
How are you today? It's Friday, April 11th, 2014. All right, people. So what's going on? Well, the U.S. equity market took another hit today. The NASDAQ got hit the hardest, falling about 1.4%. Very interesting. But what else happened today? Well, a lot of things.
Tell us.
Let's start with this. We heard from the IMF today.
Ooh.
And they declared that the United States economy is strengthening. And this is an impulse to the world. Really? Okay. Well, what else did we find out today about the U.S.?
Hang on just a second. Lance, are you there?
Yep.
Okay. The IMF declared that we're strengthening. What?
There were big stories about that. I did see where they were saying that their words that they spoke today are actually are going to end up hurting us in the long run and destroying credibility as if
destroying credibility. So they declared today that they've lost their minds. Because anybody that looks at our economy and thinks that it's getting stronger is laughable, man. I mean, put on your coat that doesn't have the holes in the end of the sleeves, and I got this room over here for rent. Come on, man. Come on. Just because you shitheads say it doesn't make it happen. Doesn't make it for real. Doesn't make us believe any of it. Your whole unemployment rate's at 6 point whatever. Bullshit. We all know. There's 92 million people that had a job 10 years ago that know. Everything you're saying is bullshit. And we're seeing through it. I'm sorry, man. Anything else you want to throw in there before I go back to the video?
No.
Okay.
Economy that's strengthening and that we're an impulse to the world. Consumer sentiment actually did hit a 9-month high, according to what they're telling us. Let's put this into perspective for a moment. So we have more than 20% of the U.S. population on some type of government assistance. We have consumer debt at near historic highs once again. We have a savings rate that's in the toilet. People are not saving anything. They keep burying themselves in debt. They can't find jobs which will allow them to afford housing. We understand we are now in a housing slowdown. They're not talking about it, but that's a fact. The labor force participation rate at near historic lows. You could just go on and on here, people. We have food.
Yeah, on and on and on. You ready for one more? I got one more for you. 70% of the population of this country could not access $2,000 if their life depended on it. They don't have it at their disposal. $2,000, people. 70% of this country couldn't scrape together $2,000 if their life depended on it.
Inflation. We got fuel inflation. And, consumers are feeling really good about the economy here in the United States. Don't forget that, okay? And the IMF is telling us that, we're doing a lot better here. It's incredible, people. What else did we find out today? The PPI, the Producer Price Index, also at a 9-month high. So we can expect to be paying more for everything.
I think that was a drone that just went over my house.
Consumer sentiment is at a 9-month high. It's just great. So, so you can see what I'm trying to get to here is, they're going to try to bolster this market next week. I am more than certain of it. Again, we have the IMF today. We're going to get more big guns, the Warren Buffetts, the Janet Yellens. Who knows what's going to come out next week and push this market higher. Fundamentals don't matter. Technicals don't matter. It's about what comes out of the mouths of these people. We do not have a free market. We have a managed market, and we're going to manage it by words. It's insane at so many levels. But, again, don't lose sight of the long-term fact that at one point this is going to come apart. They can do whatever they want. They can try to fluff it and prop it and stimulate it and talk their way out of whatever they want and do things that we can't even imagine yet to keep this market bolstered up. Why? Because this is an election year. I believe it has a huge bearing on the stock market. They will not allow it to correct. So I'm almost 100% certain here, and that the market will rise next week. Could I be wrong? Absolutely, could be wrong. But I'm just betting on my belief that they will not allow this market to do anything to shake up people's confidence, to rock the boat in any way. So that's pretty much my take on this, people. I don't believe this will play out much longer. I went over this in a video that I did just yesterday. And it's going to be funny to watch them try to prop this back up in some way. I can't wait to hear what comes out of their mouths or what action they're going to take here to push it back up. They're not going to allow this to come down here. Understand, I've gone over this many times. I talk about this in my book, The Politics of Money. The Wall Street banks are in bed with our policymakers, the Federal Reserve, all of this. It's all one big thing, okay? And if the market falls, they will buy it all. They'll just buy it up with printed cash. So you can expect this market to move higher. Again, this is a managed market. It is not a free market. With that in mind, it makes us easy to know what we need to do. And the longer term picture, just
get your ass out of Wall Street
for us. And I'm referring to this misallocation of funds has created distortions in this market that we need to capitalize on, period. And that's why we need to be investing in the precious metals beyond any shadow of any doubt. And I've gone over that at length a billion times, and I'm going to keep talking about it.
By ground.
Whenever.
By seeds.
Anyway, people, it's Friday. So that means I will not be doing a video until Monday.
Yeah.
I still think, and I said it a couple shows ago, that they're not ready. They are not ready to pull the trigger on this. We've heard enough other people talk about it taking 2 more years. And I've said until they can get our guns away from the masses, not all of them, because they'll never get all of them, but until a full gun grab goes in, I don't believe it'll happen. They've got to get them away from us before they do it.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, man. I don't think that's ever going to be able to happen in this country.
But they're going to try.
There'll have to be an invasion.
Deadlines are running out.
I know. I know.
Deadlines are running out with this registrations.
Yeah, 15th, y'all in New York, man. You got until the 15th of this month to go register up all your ARs and evil black guns.
Yeah, and I think everybody should be looking up in the sky on that night, because isn't that the night of the pretty moon?
Yeah, the blood moon. Yeah.
Hell yeah, the eclipse.
Ooh.
Yep.
There's a solar eclipse coming too. Nobody's talking about that. We'll talk about that next week, probably. Maybe tomorrow night.
Get into prophecies and stuff. Cool.
Okay, so we're going to skip on down another rabbit hole here. We talked about this on Wednesday. I kind of hammered it home a little bit. This Ebola thing that's happening down in South America. You people need to pay attention to this. I don't think that this is any kind of false flag bullshit, okay? This is really happening. These people are really dying at a rate of 90%, and you need to keep your eyes on this. I caught wind of a story. We all heard about the guy up in Canada. There's also...
Not all of us.
Well, most everybody that heard this story or heard this show knows about the guy up in Canada. Yeah. They said that wasn't Ebola, that it was some kind of other severely hemorrhagic fever where you bleed out internally and externally and everywhere else. There's also a gentleman in Minnesota that I didn't hear anything about until yesterday. And this cat came through the United States. He flew up from South America at Liberia, actually, one of the bordering states of Guinea that has the outbreak. Actually, I think Liberia, they also have about 60 deaths or so. Anyway, he flew into New York and then flew to Minnesota and then fell ill. So, wow. for nobody to be broadcasting that on the mainstream media is just heinous, in my opinion, criminal. I can think of a couple other words to use for that. But anyhow, Potter Blog has a new video released, and we're going to listen to what he has to say about it right now.
Awesome.
Welcome to the Potter Blog site, April 11th, 2014. Based on testimony in front of the United States Congress on April 8th, the Department of Defense has issued these JB AIDS biowarfare hemorrhagic fever detectors, Ebola detectors, if you will, to National Guard units in all 50 states. So pay very close attention if you see this unit in use in the field somewhere, in a clinic or a hospital. This is an extreme early warning indicator that something significant and serious is occurring. So let's give you some of the details here on what we know. Basically, let's show you the link. This is the document from the House of Representatives. It's a statement by Carmen J. Spencer, Joint Program Executive Officer for Chemical and Biological Defense. It was given before the House Armed Services Committee, Subcommittee on Intelligence and Emerging Threats and Capabilities on April 8th, 2014. We have a link to this, all the pages in it. Basically, we excerpt some key statements. Basically, it says here, collaboration between the U.S. Army and FDA. Facilitated the availability of viral hemorrhagic fever diagnostic assays for use during a declared emergency, and adds previously unavailable preparedness activity to this fielded system. That goes on to display later how it's been fielded. It says to address the need for a near-term capability to combat emerging threat materials, we have already provided domestic response capability kits to National Guard, weapons of mass destruction, civil support teams resident in all 50 states. These kits provide emerging threat mitigation capability that includes detection, personnel protection, and decontamination. Now, it is unclear how real or imminent the threat may be, but it is clear that there's been a massive surge of governmental spending and preparedness, which has occurred since hemorrhagic H7N9 bird flu came on the scene in 2013, and that those preparedness activities are accelerating as Ebola has started to gain momentum in Africa. And we have multiple links about that in our source links below. Now, there are multiple vignettes one could put forth for these activities, governmental activities, ranging from simple, wasteful governmental defense spending, medical spending, to an airborne mutated Ebola, or it could be that they're expecting a biological first strike and prelude to World War III. The preparations seemed lean towards the latter. It'd be easy to cover up some of these biological first strikes in what's happening in the world right now biologically. But rather than worry about the situation, the best course of action is to be aware of the unusual military equipment which would be utilized in a defense situation. As such information will provide leading-edge risk mitigation, actionable information to threats that may result in mass panic or mass quarantine. Now, that's the key, is if you spot some of these materials or equipment in use, that's your sign that something serious is either suspected of being wrong or is going wrong, and that you should expect significant activity to take place, governmental actions to take place in the very short term. And having that information before everybody else does can provide you with some capability to make immediate preparations or take risk mitigation actions. Now, pay special attention to this JB AIDS device. This is the Joint Biological Agent Identification and Diagnostic System. This is what it looks like. This is the device here. The key thing to note is this vent system here, this cover. If you see this sitting in a clinic somewhere, a healthcare clinic, urgent care center, or a hospital, This is stuff only carried by the military, and it's for use in these very specific situations. So if you see this in use, then you know something is significantly wrong, because this is not equipment that one would expect to find normally in a hospital. Now, that equipment is carried often in one of the two vehicles I'm going to show you. This is a Humvee Joint Biological Point Detection System. The key things to notice are the air samplers on top here. So this is the type of Humvee one would expect would be driving around an area where they're trying to detect the source of something. There's another version here too, and again you can spot the. This one's typically, I believe, used more for chemical warfare, but it also does biological detections. Again, you spot the vents or the air samplers above. So if you see one of these two things driving around your neighborhood, something's up biologically. If you see this device in use, then there is serious trouble afoot. And again, we have all the source documents here. You should read through these, because it's amazing what the government is prepping for right now. Just utterly amazing.
Your Wi-Fi is choking again. Say that one more time.
It's just for our protection.
Shit, yeah, that's it. Millions and millions and hundreds of millions and billions and trillions, but it's all for the kids. DARPA, that's for the kids. Ending the space program, for the kids. Brand new creepy satellites going up into space nobody knows about, that's for kids.
Yeah,
kids
I
safe.
saw that story yesterday, man. The last launching setup like that was the Mars.
Yeah, and that thing's going way, way, way out there, right? So why does this need the same kind of rocket? And the Russians made the engines that went into this.
Yep.
Rocket.
Top secret. They refused to put what was on there, and for 5 minutes it was totally blacked out on camera, so they could not see the trajectory of the rocket and try to extrapolate where it was going into orbit. Yep.
Right.
Weird.
They went to blackout at 4 minutes and 2 seconds into the launch.
Well, and that's just the weird that the way that it was set up, the cargo payload had only been used one other time.
Right. And there's no price tag associated with this launch. There's no price tag associated with the cargo that was on it. We know it's a NSOL satellite, National Surveillance and Observatory. Okay. The patch. What was the patch? A unicorn over the globe or something?
No. The patch was just a solid black patch. That said, if I told you, I'd have to kill you, in Latin. It was 3 different languages.
Oh, I didn't think that's what I saw, but anyway, there was something. There was some kind of patch on the side of the rocket as it was going up.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, that was different.
So the
patch I'm talking about was the ones associated.
Yeah, that put the satellite up into space.
The patch was solid black, and in 3 different languages, it said, if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Nice. You creepy bastards.
Mm.
Yeah, your Wi-Fi's choking again, by the way.
Mm.
So what, back to the Ebola thing. Okay. This disease, this virus, this whatever the hell it is, this biologic agent has been confirmed by myself and several other people that I've listened to and talked to, and documents that I've seen. It was created by man in a lab. It was released into the wild to see what it would do. The first version of it only killed about 50% of the people that got infected.
Who is it released by again?
I don't know. It doesn't say who released it, but it said that it was made by a private company that was under military contract to design a viral weapon. So,
yes.
Beg pardon?
Success.
Yeah, no shit. But evidently 50% wasn't good enough for him because this new strain that's out there now, and I don't know, maybe I'm just extrapolating out too far and being a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I think they tweaked it because now it's up to 90%. Now
right.
it could have mutated on its own out in the middle of nowhere, right? In a monkey's butt or whatever they decided that it came from to begin with and tried to fly the lie, but it didn't fly. Now it's killing 90%. And, the people that are on the ground working this outbreak have said that it's unlike anything they've ever seen. When somebody comes in with it, basically they just sit there and watch them die. There's nothing they can do to help them. They can drug them into a coma so that they don't hurt, but that's basically all they can do. There's no stopping it. There's no vaccine. There's no cure. This thing was designed by people in a lab to kill everything that it comes in contact with. And ding, you hit a homer. You don't even have the words for what you are. Scientists, whatever. You're a lab rat. You are a disgusting human, if you're even human. Somebody that would design something like this, I tend to wonder if you're from this planet and have any moral compass in your body. Lance, anything to add to that?
Yeah, people get brainwashed, and they're doing it for humanity, or there is the agenda. Keeping the world's population under 500 million, that would do it.
Okay. I actually, I can't believe I did. I found a story on this Yahoo in Minnesota. They're calling it Lassa hemorrhagic fever, which is just like Ebola, but not, right? That's what they're saying. It's just like Ebola, but it's not Ebola. So don't worry about it. It's just Lassa. L-A-S-S-A, Lassa hemorrhagic fever. News from the Minnesota Department of Public Health and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. A Minnesota traveler returning from Africa has been hospitalized. Yeah, by the way, folks, I think I said South Africa earlier, and it's in Africa. My bad. A Minnesota traveler returning from Africa has been hospitalized with what the CDC confirms to be Lassa fever, a viral hemorrhagic fever that is often lumped together with Ebola hemorrhagic fever, though they are caused by different organisms. Okay. Given the news from the West Africa, the growing Ebola outbreak there, 127 cases, including 83 deaths, according to the World Health Organization at last update, I suspect there is going to be some attention to this case, possibly even some alarm. So switching from a scary disease grill to scary disease killjoy, which is sort of like Phoenix becoming a dark Phoenix, only with blah, blah, blah. The Minnesota Department says there is no sign the disease has spread. The CDC says it is not likely to have infected passengers on the same airplane. What? And if you're thinking, well, surely this has never happened before, viral hemorrhagic fever coming to the U.S. via airline, actually it has happened 7 times. And no one caught Lassa from the infected travelers in any of those times. From sitting next to them, not from living in the same house with them, not from having sex with them, blah, blah, blah. It's a bad disease, but it's not the threat like we imagine. So evidently it doesn't spread like Ebola, I'm guessing. Lassa is not Ebola. It has a lower mortality rate, 10 to 20% versus 80 to 90 for the new strain of Ebola. But for precisely that reason, Ebola is less likely to travel by airplane than Lassa. People who develop symptoms are sick so rapidly and so noticeably that they are unlikely to be allowed on an airplane or to be able to board. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you can carry Ebola for 3 weeks. Or no, I'm thinking something else. Nope. I think you develop a fever within a few hours or something, 72 hours or something. Let's see if there's anything else in here I want to read. Okay, nope. But anyway, that's about the guy with Lassa fever. in Minnesota. Still sounds pretty nasty. Don't know if he died. Doesn't say if he died. 10 to 20% maybe he lived. Anyhow, I think people need to pay attention to the Ebola outbreak because I do believe that it is going to spread somehow. I don't know if it'll make it to the U.S., but it's already spreading throughout Central Africa. And I think the outbreak that happened back in the 80s or whatever was in the Congo, which is right there too, yeah. So just keep your heads in the game on this one. This might get serious. Planes fly across the ocean in hours. You know, TSA is not everywhere protecting us.
Yeah, and then those stewardesses and pilots and that plane goes to somewhere else right after it drops off a whole bunch of people. And the beat goes on. And on
and on. And they think that this Ebola that's outbreaking now is airborne. They think that it's airborne. You don't have to necessarily have physical contact with the human that has it like you did before. All you have to do is be in the same room with them and breathe the same air that they exhale, and you can catch it. So that sounds pretty scary too. Because I wonder how long it would stay alive in the air, you know, if it some kind of intracontinental flight in Africa, you know, it bounces from one to another place there, and somebody coughs right as they were getting off the plane, and then it decides to reboard and come to the U.S. Just, you know, just thinking things like I'm not just playing devil's advocate, I reckon. So that's my update for y'all on this Ebola stuff. I really do, honest to God, I think you need to keep your heads in the game on it. A lot of stuff about Snowden in the recent press, just little drips and drabs, and people, I think Snowden's a distraction too. I think he was from the very beginning. Otherwise, the CIA would have killed this cat by now. I promise you that. I don't give a shit where he's living. The CIA would have killed him if he was for real. And he was releasing all this shit, and they didn't want it released. He'd be dead. Greenwald would be dead. They would have met the same fate that Andrew Breitbart met, that Michael Hastings met.
It helped give Putin a worldwide stance of being a strong man, or appearing that way, and the country strong, which led into Crimea, Ukraine.
Right, it was moving of chess pieces. Yeah?
Right.
Okay. Okay. We're going to give the last 10 minutes to Bundy. 8 minutes, actually, probably. There's a bunch of people gathered out there, for sure. You guys all heard Vince. He was running around. He actually got to talk to Mel. Congratulations on that get, Vince. That was very awesome. I apologize to you, brother, again, one more time for not doing the phones tonight, but these hour shows, I don't usually do phones. So sorry about that. But an intense showdown in the state of Nevada between a family of ranchers and federal agents continues to escalate after the long-standing land dispute 2 decades in the making came to a head earlier this month. My bad, people. As RT reported earlier this week, hundreds of armed agents within the United States Bureau of Land Management and Federal Bureau of Investigation, I didn't know the FBI was out there already, have descended on Clark County, Nevada, a 67-year-old Cliven Bundy, to execute a court-ordered confiscation of nearly 1,000 cattle, according to his family, which the U.S. government says have trespassed on federal property. Now, again, I ask you the same thing that I asked you on Wednesday when I ranted about this shit for about an hour. Why didn't they give the guy the chance to go get his cattle up? I mean, if you show up and say, hey, look, man,
They did.
Everybody's going to push
They
this.
did.
Did they?
No,
Okay.
they did.
Okay.
They gave him 2 or
Okay.
3 weeks notice. It was
He gave
more
a big finger.
an ample time notice, and he gave him the finger.
Okay, that's cool. Hey, man, that's cool. I was just asking that question, and now
Yep.
I got the answer. Appreciate it, Lance. Thank you. Excuse me. The Washington Free Beacon newspaper reported on Monday this week that 234 of the 908 cattle had been wrangled up by the government and their contractors. We all saw the pictures of the helicopters scaring the cattle to death, right? Okay. And news of the dispute has since further propelled the story into the national spotlight. Yep.
No, it hasn't.
It's a distraction.
No, it hasn't. I mean, it hasn't pushed it up into the national spotlight. It's
Well,
not getting any attention
right,
on the
mainstream
national spotlight.
But RT spotlight's on it. And,
I was going
and
to
a few
say,
other people.
that's why this article is quoting RT, because they can't quote any freaking American news stations because they're not here talking about it.
This is RT's article, yeah. Now it's been reported that local cowboys have retrieved some of the confiscated cattle, and supporters of the Bundy Ranch from around the region have flocked to Nevada to stand by their side. Good way to go, cowboys. Everybody that's out there helping them round up their cattle that have been scattered by those choppers. That's cool. This, everybody knows, like I said on Wednesday, this is calving season, and they're separating these mothers from their calves, and these mothers are, not able to feed them, and the calves are going to starve to death. Since the Beacon first reported on the standoff earlier this week, tensions have only worsened in Clark County. Video emerged on Wednesday of the rancher's son, Eamon Bundy, bloodied after being shocked by an electric taser used by authorities, and the Desert News reported that, according to Cliven, his own sister was knocked to the ground by officials moments before the cameras began to roll. We all heard that. I passed that video.
Or injuries.
Yes, she did. She got both of her knees scuffed up. She's 59 years old, cancer sufferer. They also shocked a pregnant woman with a taser that day because she had the gall to stand up in one of their faces and say, "You have no authority on this ground," which they don't. All they're allowed to do is manage it.
Why can't they see that? Why can't they see that they're working for a corpocracy and that they're being sheepled what to do? Why, why can't they see that?
I don't know. Maybe they take some kind of drug before they go out and do this shit. It's possible because it's the same thing they do over in Iraq and over in Afghanistan and whatever.
You can't tell me all these guys aren't Second Amendment supporters, gun-loving people themselves.
You can't tell me they don't have a freaking Facebook
rights
account
away from their fellow Americans.
Right. You can't tell me they don't have a Twitter. They don't have a Facebook. They don't have they don't go to YouTube and look at these videos. Everybody does. Twitter's, there's hundreds of millions of people on Twitter. There's billions of people on Facebook, for Christ's sake. There's probably billions on Twitter now too. It's just, you can't tell me that they don't know what they're doing. I mean, are they giggling afterwards? Are they high-fiving each other? Cause I've seen some videotapes of cops doing that after they beat the shit out of some innocent dude, forget the cameras rolling or whatever, and they walk off high-fiving each other. Yeah, we tagged that son bitch. Anyway, back to the story.
Yeah.
One witness, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It's amazing.
It is. It's disgusting is what it is. Mm-hmm. One witness, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, told reporters that serious bloodshed was narrowly avoided as a pregnant woman who was also roughed up during the ordeal. I just talked about that a second ago. We never did have any hand-to-hand combat this morning or up until this time, Mr. Bundy told the newspaper on Thursday afternoon. But there's like 200 armed militia people on my ranch. That's pretty bad to have that much armed force against the American people.
I bet it's quadrupled 3 times over on what's there now.
Oh, yeah. Counting those personnel are supporters of the Bundy Ranch who say the family must be protected from the tyrannical government. Amen. To send 200 people to this dude's ranch is just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. How much money is this costing you taxpayers? Have you thought about that yet? We need to be the barrier between the oppressed and the tyrants. Ryan Payne told the Review-Journal. Expect to see a band of soldiers. Payne and other supporters drove from as far away as 12 hours outside of Clark County to come to stand at the rancher's side. the paper reported, and have received blessings of well-organized militias from within the region. Payne, and a member of the West Mountain Rangers, is also a coordinator of what he described to the paper as being a national association composed of state militias. A national association, never heard of that. Several U.S. senators in the state of Nevada this week also criticized what's been called the result of overreaching agency activity and overzealousness. But federal officials say the ranchers' cattle are simply not allowed to roam on the disputed land, which the government insists is federal property. Now look, people, they might have changed the laws or whatever, but it says in the Constitution of the United States that the United States federal government is not allowed to own property unless it is a military installation or support structure. Look it up. They probably changed the law, though. They do whatever they want. I would pay my grazing fees to the proper government, which I would say is Clark County, Nevada, he added to the Desert News on Thursday. That's Clive talking. They're disputing like, I don't know, $1 million or something that he said, that they said he owed just because they all of a sudden willy-nilly started charging people in 93. I don't believe I owe 1 penny to the United States government, Bundy said. I don't have a contract with the United States government. That same day, Bundy's son Eamon told reporter David Knight that a group of around 20 cowboys had entered the disputed land and quickly retrieved roughly 30 cattle before the federal officials could respond. We gathered about 30 head, he said. We did have a small confrontation with them, but they didn't have the forces to do a whole lot. They couldn't mobilize fast enough, and we were able to gather those cattle and get them back to the ranch. Way to go, fellas. A little creeping around on your horses. I bet that's fun shit. Amy Louders, the director of the BLM's Nevada office, told reporters on Thursday that authorities have been moving in only as a last resort, resulting from over 20 years of Bundy's non-compliance with regards to paying grazing fees. According to Loiters, cattle caught trespassing on the federal land will be sold at auction. That's the end of that story. And that's damn near the end of our show. Sorry I drug that out so long. That
was great.
Last words?
None. I'm going to drop my world famous, because it's going to be a great weekend, world famous recipes going into chat. Enjoy.
Yeah. Smoke'em's sauce. Yeah.
Yep. Enjoy it.
All right, everybody. Peace and love. Stand up for yourself, Mr. Bundy. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for After the Last Cup. Turtleville's replays next. I think Rep Chicks is on tonight. After that, Anti-Media Radio. See y'all.